you tell us your name?
I heard one story that's not on here, and I was telling Tom about it. It's been so long since I read it that some of the details are up here flying around, you know. But there was a girl, a college girl, who was going home late one night after class, and she felt like something bad was going to happen. And she looked up, and there's this man propped up against one of the buildings. She said she saw him, and she said immediately she looked down and just kept walking. The next morning, she saw a report where a girl not too long after that had been raped at that same place. So she went down to the police department to say, yes, this was the guy I saw. And she said she asked the officers, can I just ask him some questions? And they let her, and she said, why, just out of curiosity, why her? Why didn't you attack me? And the guy just laughed at her and said, are you kidding? With those two big dudes walking with you, did you think I was going to hurt you? She said, there was nobody with me. I was by myself.
Yeah, I wish we could have come up with some of those stories or maybe found that one. But that's happened before too. All right, another nurse story. Then, the angel nurse.
In 1998, Luke was diagnosed with bone cancer at the tender age of 8. As something happened, he came down with an infection, which meant he had to go to the hospital. He was there for about 2 weeks, and that's when something remarkable happened. One evening, Luke's mother was sitting at his bedside, quietly praying as she slept. The nurse came into the room to check Luke's temperature, but his mother noted something rather peculiar about her. The nurse was wearing an old-fashioned uniform, the type that would have been common in 30 years ago in the 60s. The nurse noticed that Luke's mother had a Bible laying on the side of the bed. She asked, was she a Christian too? And said she would pray for her, for Luke's healing. Luke's family had never seen this odd nurse before, and they never saw her again in Luke's remaining time in the hospital. I came out of the hospital fully healed of my infection, says Luke, who was 19 when he told his story. Remarkably, he was now completely free of cancer. My mom believes this nurse could have been a guardian angel coming down to give my mom some hope, Luke says. If she wasn't an angel, why would she be wearing a 1960s old-fashioned nursing clothing?
Either that or a time traveler. I don't. There was a disturbance in the space-time continuum there, and Doctor Who brought this lady through. I mean, I can imagine, most people nowadays, most nurses wear the scrubs, the green or the blue scrubs. But back in the 60s, it was a white uniform with the little cap. All right, I have another angel sighting for you. And this one was actually broadcast on national news.
All right, best story of the night right here. A Michigan couple getting the shock of their lives when they got an alert from their security camera in the driveway.
It was kind of like really unusual. I've never ever seen anything like it.
I was like, wow.
I mean, that is an angel.
The photos are exactly how they were taken. I choose to believe it. I think it's an angel.
Take a good look. Many, including their pastor, said that they believe this image, captured by a security camera, shows an angel hovering over the family's truck last week. So could it be? And in the next picture, I think we have it, it sort of looks like it.
Here's a screenshot.
It looks like an
From
angel with a sword, like he's swooping down. Go, wow.
Yeah. And this was caught on security cam. And here's the one. I could only find it as a joint picture of both of them. But there you see on top of the truck and then supposedly flying away. I mean, it does, but he's got a pinhead. Look at, I'm sorry, but that thing's got a puny head for such a big old body. I don't know. I mean, could that be a lens flare? Could that be a bug right on the lens?
Could be some light reflecting on some smoke or a little bit of fog, but you don't see any fog anywhere else.
No.
Maybe not.
And then it's in a different location immediately after. So
I have to go. I'm running out of time and my battery's 20%. So
oh boy. Well, thank you so much for being with us what you could.
wish I could have done more.
I hear you.
Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year and Happy Christmas to everybody.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Wonderful Christmas.
Thank you.
Stay safe and healthy.
All right. Stay away from Krampus.
I'll try to.
You never know.
A bad girl this year.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All right. Thanks for being with us, Beth.
Bye.
See you
Now,
later.
that Fox News thing was, like I said, that was from May 15th. This Michigan Fire Chief Glenn Thorman says his home security camera captured that angel, and they firmly believe that it was an angel. Now,
If I saw that, I would believe that. If I looked out, looked at my camera or looked out my door and I see that, I say, okay, thank you, Lord. Thank you for sending an angel. I would have believed it.
well, I'm more of the skeptic bent and would have wanted to figure out what my camera was doing. Was there a bug on the lens? Was it whatever? And exhausted all possibility. Now, I'm going to share two personal experiences with you today that may or may not have been angels, but that's probably the closest, especially in this first story, the closest explanation. Way back in the mid-90s, I was on the beach with my family, my three young children. And my oldest daughter was about 8 or 10 years old at the time, somewhere in there. And it was a company thing. Those of us that worked together had all gone down there for a cookout on the beach. And there's a boardwalk on the back side of the beach. As you park your car, there's a boardwalk, and then there's the beach. And so we had spent some time there and everything. We're picking up, getting ready to go and starting to get everything together. And we look around and my oldest daughter has disappeared. So we all, make sure all the other kids are there first. And then we break up into little groups and everybody's spreading out in different directions to go look for my daughter. And you can imagine this is the parents' worst nightmare to turn around in a crowded place and you're missing a kid. I was about to freak out. Well, me and a friend of mine was heading east down the boardwalk. The beach was on our right, the parking lot on our left. We're kind of halfway trotting, going down the boardwalk looking for my daughter. And about 50 yards ahead, I saw her on the boardwalk walking directly to us. And so I run down there to her, and she's walking beside this little old lady that wasn't much taller than her, a little short, chubby woman with white hair, and had her hand on my daughter's back and was just speaking to her. I mean, that's basically all I remember because I was focused on my daughter. And I'm down on my knees hugging my daughter and, asking her if she's okay. Oh, God, you had me worried, the thing a parent would say. And I remember this woman speaking to me, telling me how she had found my daughter on the beach. My daughter said that she had walked off collecting shells, and every few 100 feet or whatever at this boardwalk, they have a pavilion, and she was in front of one of those when she turned around and looked, and all her family was gone. She didn't know anybody. She said she got scared, obviously, but she sat down and kind of hugged up her knees and sat in the sand, wondering what to do. She said she didn't start crying, but she was scared and just didn't know what to do when this little old lady walked up to her and asked if she was lost. I mean, we're only talking a few minutes here, just almost immediately. Well, as I'm hugging my daughter, we found her. I'm so relieved. I remember hearing this woman to the side of me saying how she had found her. I saw her sitting in the sand, and I knew she was lost. But here's an odd and unique thing. She had an accent, a strange accent. And when I say strange, I've traveled around the world, and I've heard Latin accents, Spanish accents, Middle Eastern accents, Ethiopian accents, African accents. And of course, I'm no expert on languages or accents by any means, but I have traveled a lot and heard multiple accents, and this was one I couldn't place. It was just strange. That's all I can say. It was odd. And so this is, I mean, I'm just listening to this. I'm more focused and concerned with my daughter. And so my daughter, like I said, is telling me what she's doing. And she said, and then this lady stopped to help me. And I stood up to thank the lady who had just been speaking to me. And she was gone. Now, granted, I understand it was a crowded beach, but we're standing there, and it hadn't even been 10 seconds since my daughter said, and this woman stopped to help me. And the lady had disappeared. We even spent a few minutes looking for her and couldn't find her. Here's another unique thing I just thought about. Most people at the beach are in shorts, T-shirts, swimsuits, whatever for beach wear. But I remember this woman being in a dress, or not necessarily a dress, but like a skirt, a long skirt. I don't know. Maybe the years are tacking on some different memories there, but it was just a unique thing. And my daughter swears to this day that was her guardian angel. Now, we've talked about the biblical things and sightings and things that are known there, but listen to some of these. This is from 1841. This is from the Haunted Ohio Books website. It's an article called A Flap of Angels, More Seraphic Sightings by Chris Woodyard. Witnessed by Miss Olive E. Coffin of Hillsboro, Ohio, and Mrs. Martha A. Ellis of somewhere in Ohio, August 19, 1841. Writing of the heavenly host, Mrs. Ellis says, I will mention one more strange phenomenon that I witnessed in Bellbrook, August 19, 1841. We were sitting outdoors viewing what was to us a strange sight in the heavens, when we noticed excited families of the neighborhood in the streets viewing the southeastern sky. A glance in that direction showed her a phenomenon which her own words consisted of angel forms in solemn procession, marching with stately tread through the realms of space in full view. In the heavens, marching by twos, was a parade of what appeared to be human forms clad in flowing robes. As fast as one company consisting of from 10 to 15 couples would disappear from view, another would take its place, and the vision lasted 10 minutes. The forms were so lifelike that seemingly the movements of the limbs could be distinguished. The people at the time were greatly excited at the angelic visitation, and in several instances, families carried invalids out of doors that they might view the scene. The occurrence took place between 9 and 10 o'clock in the evening. The forms of the spirit visitors were to all appearances covered by a gauzy substance, and their existence in companies was visible to the eye through the space of probably 30 degrees in a northwesterly direction. Bellbrook Moon, Ohio, 16 March 1904 was when that was originally published. From the same website, angel framed by aurora seen in northern skies, and the Indians declare it was a portent of the thunder eagle. In Windsor, Ontario, scores of Windsor residents, including members of the police force, stoutly affirmed that they witnessed a startling phenomenon in the form of an angel who appeared surrounded by a circle of flaming red in the western sky. Following, as it does, reports from France that soldiers have seen Joan of Arc and St. Michael leading them into battle, as well as the apparition of the angel Mons. The experience of the Windsorites is attraction more than ordinary attention. Patrolmen on duty, skeptical over reports received over the telephone, walked out where they could view the section of sky in which the phenomenon was reported. They declared that they beheld the blood-red circle high in the heavens, though the angel's figure, if it had been there, had disappeared. Another member of the police force, however, is authority for the statement that he previously saw the angel circle and all. Many Detroit residents declared that they too had seen the angel in the red circle. A striking coincidence with the experience of the Windsorites. All descriptions of the apparition agree that it was far too bright, vivid, and well defined to have anything to do with the aurora borealis, which was faintly visible from this part of the continent. The Oklahoma City Times, 26 March 918, page 4. Okay. I thought it would be unique to get a couple of historical sightings. All right, before we close out, you may or may not, you may or may not have had an angelic visitation. I don't know. But I found an article that will help in that regard to see, have you ever encountered an angel? It's from the article called Signs You've Encountered an Angel by Leslie White, an editor for BeliefNet.com. That was based on the book Encountering Angels by Judith McNutt. The first thing is, Lynn, you want to read that? You wake up to the presence of a bright light.
Many people think that angels only appeared during biblical times or to the mystics, but angels appear every day to everyday people. In one of the book's stories, an angel appeared to a farmer's wife in southwest Missouri to open her eyes to the spiritual realm. As she was dozing off on her sofa, something woke her up. When her eyes were open, she saw a bright light followed by a bright blue ball. A little girl who looked to be about 8 years old stood there. She didn't have wings or hands. She felt the sense of calm in her presence. The young angel was only there for about 30 seconds when she disappeared, along with the blue light. Weeks later, the woman came down with pneumonia and was taken to the hospital. Through all this time of trial, she felt a sense of inner strength and comfort, and her presence in her healing. After the experience, she was positive that God existed and angels in heaven.
That reminded me as I was going through it, our very first show, Personnel Paranormal, when Dagny shared as a little girl, she saw the blue light, and she had the sense that it was an angel, and it did the same thing. It brought her a time of, she said, strength and comfort. But the next one is, if you've encountered an angel, you hear a voice or voices when no one are around. Sometimes some people are graced by God to see angels, while others are graced by him to hear them, says McNutt, the author. A woman featured in the book had been diagnosed with cancer. Given other people had received bad news, the pastor gathered them together at the church. As she sat a few rows from the back, she felt a powerful presence of the Lord and heard several male tenor voices behind them, and those voices were remarkable. But when she turned around, nobody was there. She turned to a friend and asked if they could hear the sound, and she said yes, and was shocked that they were both heard. They had both heard the same thing. This incident suggests that they were hearing the sounds of a heavenly chorus. But there's also the presence of total peace. Lynn, you want to read that section?
Angels can show up and ease suffering by bringing the presence of peace. After 22 years of marriage, a woman went through a period of devastation after a painful divorce. During this tough period, her mother contracted pulmonary cancer and needed surgery. She and her siblings remained in the hospital so they wouldn't be alone. The weight of all these things really began to take a toll on her. She attended church and received a prayer. When she returned home that same night, she was laying in bed. She saw a large, brilliant angel standing around the corner from her room with outstretched wings. In that moment, she was not afraid. And felt the peace peace like she'd never experienced before. After the angels were no longer in sight, she experienced her first night of restful sleep. This was a sign that the angels were sent by God to watch over her.
And on that same vein, grief can be enveloped by comfort. Sometimes angels will show up during periods of grief, despair, and helplessness and loss, and present a sense of comfort and hope. In one of the featured stories in this book, a young woman felt this presence after her beloved dog died. She cried night and day and really had trouble motivating herself. At this low point, she called out to God, "It's too much, God. Please help me." In this moment, her pain suddenly stopped, along with her tears, and she felt a presence in her room. She felt a deep sense of peace. In this moment, she felt the presence of what she felt was an angel that was there to ease her suffering. God sent this angel because he knew the weight she carried as a way to ease her suffering. She knew only God could ease her suffering so quickly and completely. So, if this Judith McNutt in her book Encountering Angels, you can get that if you want to go more in depth in this, but she says, if you wake up to the presence of a bright light, if you hear a voice or voices when no one is around, if you're in the presence of total peace and your grief is enveloped by comfort, she says, you could have been visited by an angel.
I think sometimes when you're sitting and concentrating on something, or even if you're just tired of watching TV, sometimes you'll see something out of the corner of your eye and you turn and look and there's nothing there. I honestly, personally believe that that's your angels and they're moving around and it's caught a glimpse of something.
It could be. Now, here's a sighting that was reported as an angel. All right, they're going to show it again here in just a second. And they're going to slow it down and zoom in and watch just before the impact. It's a flash of light and another flash of light. 3 flashes in succession. And the couple and the baby walk on like nothing has happened. Pretty wild, huh? I'm going to play it one more time. And there they go, starting to cross the street. And then out of nowhere, the 2 cars show up. There's flashes of light. And here they go, slowing it down and zooming in. Boom, boom, boom. And then the black car knocks the other one out of the way. My question is, the 3 flashes of light, what was that? Just seconds before the point of impact. But then that black car coming in out of nowhere.
Right. Well, the car come from over on the other side, like
I
where
know.
the cars had been turning. He come from out there, so that looked like this one one of them ran a red light and the other one crashed it. But like you said, where did the bolts of lightning come from? It wasn't raining. There was no thunderstorms. There was no thunder. There was nothing. And 3 flashes, and then it was gone.
But that's what I was saying. You got 3 flashes, and the actual point of their escape was brought about by that black car.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't move. They were in the same place. But you had 3 flashes of light, and then that black car plows into the other car and knocks it out of their path. So.
Yeah, because they never missed a lick. They still didn't get in a hurry.
No, and they were still moving along at the same pace they were before. Okay, before we get to the conclusions and suppositions, I'm going to share a story that I've never shared publicly. And it's not because I'm ashamed of it. It's just because it's one of those things that
you don't understand it.
I don't understand it. And I don't know, I don't know what happened. And it may have been an angel, but this happened to me back in the mid to late 90s, sometime after my daughter's angel sighting. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details as to why I ended up in the Virgin Islands, but I was there. And a friend and I had wanted to purchase this sailboat. And so we had borrowed a dinghy, which, if you're not familiar with a dinghy, I wasn't. It's a small little boat. And we rowed out into the middle of the bay. It's on St. John Island, just off from the Marriott Resort there. The bay actually is where the resort is at. And we're way out in the middle of the bay at this sailboat that's anchored. The mast is broken. It's laying down. We were contemplating purchasing this sailboat and fixing it up to either live on or to sell. And as we rowed out to the sailboat in the dinghy in the middle of the bay, I've been on boats, but I've never been around the water that much. So I'm not real, let's just say I'm too much of a landlubber to spend much time on the water. So we get up to the boat, and I stand up in the dinghy to reach up to the edge of the sailboat and steady us. Because this thing's a good 8 to 10 feet out of the water. So I'm at the stern, the back end, if I remember my nautical terms correctly. So we come up in the dinghy to the back of the boat, and I reach up, and I have to reach up and grab the back of the boat to steady us. There's no ladder coming off the back of the boat like most do. This one, the ladder had actually been cut for some reason, and It was the aluminum types, and they cut it or broke it, but it leaves a little stub on there like that, but it's crimped, a little aluminum pipe, and so it's got a sharp point on either side and sharp as a razor on the ends of the little nubs there where the ladder had been. So there was nothing to grab on the back of the boat, but I had to reach up to the top. As I reached up, I stepped wrong, and I flipped the dinghy, and everything went into the bay. And we come up gasping for air and swimming over to the boat. All of our belongings had dumped into the bay. And it's just getting dark. We had tried to get there before dark, but just barely making it. And so here we are in the water by the sailboat. And it's getting darker by the moment. And there was an anchor rope. It was slimy. We swim up to the anchor rope and we try to climb it, and we just can't get a handle on the rope because it's just been in the water and it's slimy. So I told my friend, I said, you get on the rope, get as good a hold as you can. I'll push you up. Now, remember the stern of the boat, the back of it where we'd actually flipped, it was, like I said, a good 8 or 10 feet out of the water where I had to stretch to reach the top. So you can imagine the bow of the boat, which is the front, was even higher. So we couldn't even reach up to where the anchor rope went in. So he gets a hold on there, and I'm pushing him. I mean, I'm actually pushing his feet, and I'm holding on to the rope as good as I can and pushing and pushing and pushing. And finally, he gets up to the edge and is able to pull himself on. And so he's up on the boat trying to find rope. Can't find anything. Trying to find something to throw down to me. I mean, he even reaches his hand over and can't reach me. I mean, because, I'm treading water and you just can't reach up very high out of the water. I swim around to the back. And again, it's getting darker and darker and darker. And I had tried to grab hold of the little nubs from what ladder had been there, and I kept cutting my hands because there was just not enough to hold on to, and what little bit I did, the edges would cut into my fingers. And so he's up top looking for something to extend down to get me. I'm swimming around trying to figure out some way to get up in this boat. And I'm treading water for at least a half hour, 45 minutes. We're yelling at each other, trying to figure out what we're going to do. And at some point, I just get exhausted where I can't. I mean, this went on for so long, I just couldn't function anymore. I'm treading water. And I can't reach up any higher. There's nothing to hold on to. Like I said, the anchor rope is slick and wet. The sides of the sailboat are slick and wet. And it's just me in the water. I was reminded of an old Magnum PI show where he was stuck out treading water for a long time. I couldn't tell you how long it was that I was treading water. I don't know. But all I do know is that I got exhausted to the extreme where I had nothing left. I had expended all of my energy. I couldn't paddle my feet anymore. I couldn't use my arms. And I basically began to sink. And I remember I wasn't scared. I didn't see my life passing in front of my eyes, but just basically having the thought is, okay, this is how it ends. This is it for Tom. To go out in a bay in the Virgin Islands, I guess you couldn't ask for it to be much worse or much better than that. But I really thought it was the end. And I was sinking and not knowing, just knowing that I was done for. This was it. Again, I wasn't scared. It was, I guess, like a piece, like, okay, this is it. Let's go on to what's next. And then the next thing I know, I'm laying on the deck of the boat, dripping wet. I was on the boat. I don't remember blacking out. I just remember going down and then being on the boat. And I asked my friend, I said, "Did you get me out of the water?" He's like, "No. Well, how did you get here?" And because he was up front, he didn't see what happened. And I said, I don't know. I'm on the boat. Now, was that an angel? Was it a miracle? Was it a portal in the space-time continuum and I just popped to another place? I don't know. Some have suggested that it could have been an angel. But all I know is I was in the water and then I was on the deck. There you go. That's my final story on that. Now, conclusions and suppositions. Some have thought that angels were the watchers. The watchers, the word actually means those who are awake, a guard. It's a term used in connection with biblical angels. Watcher occurs in both plural and singular forms in the book of Daniel, where a reference is made to their holiness. The apocryphal books of Enoch refer to both good and bad watchers, with a primary focus on the rebellious ones. And they were supposedly the ones who mated with the women of earth and brought forth the Nephilim. And are they aliens or extraterrestrials? Now, this is the controversial one. But technically, according to strict adherence to the definitions of each, a case could be made that the slate of alien sightings could be attributed to angels and vice versa. What do you think? Let us know. And remember, we want to hear from you. Have you had an angel sighting? Do you think they're aliens, extraterrestrials? Are they the watchers? Excuse me. All right, Lynn, final thoughts?
I think, like I said, I totally, completely, 100% believe that there are angels among us. I believe that God sends them here to protect us. The Bible says that they're round about us. I believe that there are things that we come in contact with that would destroy us if we didn't have a protector there. I think they protect us from things that we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Well, and then that brings up the counterpoint. If angels do save some people, why don't they save the others? We don't know. All this is beyond us. Just to be clear, we have not set out in this episode to prove to you that angels are real, but that the belief is real and that there are millions who believe that they are. Conversely, we're not here to debunk the theology of angels. We're just celebrating the fact that they are unique and supernatural or paranormal entities that are of specific importance, especially this time of the year. Whatever you believe about angels, remember this admonition from the scriptures. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 12 says, "Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it." You never know when someone you meet may just be an angel. Thank you guys for being with us. Be sure to stay tuned. Strange Journeys will be coming back after the first of the year. We'll be announcing that date soon. Thank you, Lynn. And she was waving bye to everybody. All right. We'll see you soon. Thank you. See you next trip. Is there anyone here with us? Did you hear that? Can you tell us your